Am I the a-hole for not wanting my disabled cousin at my wedding? I, 26F, am getting married soon to my amazing fiancé Liam, 30M, and I'm struggling with whether or not to invite my cousin, Tom, 29M. Tom has a developmental disability, and while he's almost 30, he has the intellectual capacity of about a 7-year-old. I've always tried to be patient and understanding, but he has consistently crossed physical boundaries with me in ways that make me really uncomfortable. I have always been an early bloomer and I have a much larger than average chest, and because of all the sports I did in high school, and that continue to this day, I would like to say I look good. I only say this because it's the main reason my family uses to justify Tom's behavior. Over the years, Tom has touched my chest and butt quite a few times. He's also hugged me tight and tried to kiss me, and even though I immediately told him to stop each time, it never seems to stick. He also tells all of his caretakers, nurses and live-in caregivers, that I'm his girlfriend. He also doesn't like Liam, because he insists Liam isn't my fiancé nor boyfriend, because he is my boyfriend. Tom also talks about how he will marry me. It kind of feels like when a little kid tells their parent they're going to marry them, but it's still very uncomfortable. I've brought it up with my family, but they always downplay it, saying Tom doesn't understand and that he's just showing affection. The excuse used most often is he's a little boy in a man's body, and you're a conventionally attractive woman. When I told my mom how uncomfortable it makes me, she said I probably entertained his behavior too much, and that he's harmless. She insists I should just be firm, but any time I've tried, the family accuses me of being mean to him. With my wedding coming up, I want the day to be relaxed and special without constantly worrying about Tom overstepping boundaries. When I told my family that I was considering not inviting him, they were outraged. They said I was being unfair, cruel, and that he'd be devastated not to come. My mom even said it would ruin his day and make it obvious that he's different, which she thinks is heartless. I get that Tom can't help certain behaviors, but I feel like my family has completely ignored my feelings in this. They always brush off my discomfort and say it's my responsibility to manage it, or that he doesn't know any better, but it's my wedding, and I don't want to be on edge the whole time. Liam says I have every right not to invite him, especially because of how he treats both of us like our relationship isn't real. Still, I wonder if I'm being too harsh or unkind since Tom isn't fully aware of boundaries and doesn't really know what he's doing is bad or harmful, especially because his parents and other family members encourage it. Am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's ruining my wedding by demanding I invite her ex? So my wedding is coming up in a few weeks, and it's supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. I, 28F, have been planning it for months with my fiancé, 30M. Everything is coming together except for my sister, 26F. A bit of backstory. My sister and her ex, Jake, had been together for several years. They broke up about 6 months ago, and it was pretty messy. She was devastated, and I've been there for her through all of it. I understand that she's still struggling, and I've tried my best to be supportive. The problem started when she told me she wanted me to invite Jake to my wedding. I was taken aback because, well, things ended badly between them, and she's clearly not over it. I told her from the start that I wasn't comfortable inviting him, especially since it was such a painful breakup for her. She seemed okay with that at first, but then she started pushing me harder. She said it wasn't fair for her to pretend everything is fine and that I was being insensitive to her feelings. I tried explaining that this is my wedding and I want it to be a day focused on joy, not uncomfortable situations, but she's really upset now. Then it escalated. She told me that if Jake wasn't invited, she wouldn't come to the wedding at all. She says it's too important for her to have him there for closure. I get that she's going through something tough, but this is my wedding, and I don't want it overshadowed by old drama. I've tried to be firm and said she could either come and respect my decision or not come at all. But now she's telling the rest of the family that I'm being selfish and that I'm prioritizing a wedding day over her emotional well-being. It's tearing me up, but I really feel like I'm standing my ground. I'm now questioning if I'm being too harsh. I know weddings are big, but it feels like she's making this all about her, and it's not the time or place to do that. So, am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for being furious with my pregnant wife over a prank? I, 31M, have been with my wife Lisa since college, and she's currently 7 months pregnant with our first baby. My wife Lisa is witty and likes to play jokes on me. For example, she likes to pass off fake facts and stories as real and see if I'll believe them. Lisa was a theater kid, and so she's great at acting and selling these stories. I used to fall for her pranks all the time since I'm gullible and she's so convincing. However, now that I've been with her for so many years, I can typically tell when she's messing with me. She's upped the antics over the years, and so she can occasionally get me to believe one of her jokes. Today, when I got home from work, Lisa had tears in her eyes and told me she needed to talk to me about something. I was seriously worried and sat down with her immediately. I asked what was wrong several times, and she kept saying it was hard to talk about, and she was terrified I'd leave her. I kept pressing, and she told me she had an affair with her boss several months ago and wasn't sure if the baby was mine. I asked if she was serious, and she said she was 100% serious and started crying even harder. I got up, started pacing, and tried to gather my thoughts. After a few minutes, Lisa bursted into laughter and said she was just joking. I was furious. I said it wasn't funny in the slightest to make jokes about cheating and the child not being mine. Lisa then said she was a bit offended that I believed that specific prank and not several others. She said she couldn't believe I actually thought she'd cheat on me. She then got teary and asked why I didn't trust her. I asked why I would trust her after she pulled that prank on me, managed to cry telling me about it, and continued with the prank even though I was viably upset. Lisa said it was harmless, and I was blowing things way out of proportion. She continued to ask why I didn't trust her, and I told her I needed some space. I ended up going to a speakeasy and have been away from the house ever since, even though Lisa has called several times. I know it was a prank, but I think this joke went way too far, especially with the tears. I also was clearly upset as anyone would be, and she should have stopped it as soon as she realized I was actually falling for it. Usually Lisa's jokes are funny, but this one really got to me for some reason. Am I the a-hole? And am I overreacting? I feel badly because she's very pregnant with my child and I don't want to stress her out, but I need space right now.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to change my wedding menu for my in-laws? So here's the deal. I, 29F, am getting married to my fiancé, 31M, in a few months, and we've been planning this wedding for almost a year. We're doing a small-ish ceremony and reception with around 60 guests, mostly family and close friends. My fiancé and I love food and have worked with our caterer to create a menu we're really excited about. It includes a mix of options like seafood, pasta, and some vegetarian dishes. Basically, things we both love. My future in-laws are extremely traditional eaters and are upset that we're not serving any classic meat and potatoes dishes. They're genuinely great people, but they're the type who think a meal without a steak is a waste of time. They've asked, repeatedly, if we could add a steak option, or just something simple, and they've even hinted at covering the extra cost. Here's the problem. Our menu is already set, and adding another option would mess with the caterer's timeline and, honestly, with our budget. Plus, this is a day we want to celebrate our way. I told my fiancé didn't want to make changes, and he's supportive, but he did suggest maybe offering to pay for a few plain dinners just for them. When I talked to my in-laws, they made it clear they thought I was being selfish by not accommodating them. Some of my family members think I should just let them have their steak, but I'm really struggling with the idea of changing things for just a few guests. Am I the a-hole for sticking to the menu we chose?